Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me? Is it working? Okay. So thank you so much for being a part of this SIG. And the last time we had a SIG, I think it was in Budapest in 2014. So that's nice. We had a workshop after that, but that was a different story. Thank you so much for being here. I know you had to choose between this SIG and other SIGs, so thank you. So we're going to talk about shared decision making, and hopefully you're going to help us to make some important decisions regarding the next step for this work. So we'll start with the introduction. We'll ask your name, your role, and then something that you do for fun, okay? And we'll go like super fast, like lightning fast. That's good? So just because it doesn't take 2 hours. So go ahead.
Angeles Lopez. I'm a health services researcher at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. And I swim for fun.
Loreto Carmona, researcher in Spain, and I dance.
Charlotte Becker, research fellow in medication adherence and full-time researcher. And I CrossFit.
CrossFit. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Maureen Dinage. I am, what am I? I'm a rheumatologist. I'm a rheumatologist. I work in Glasgow. I'm the emerging leader for the synovial tissue SIG, and I'm also a CrossFitter.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Westers Robertson, a PRP from the United States, and I like to sing karaoke.
Deb Constein, PRP from US, and cooking, gourmet cooking.
Lynn March, a rheumatologist from Australia. I like to swim and blow whistles.
Hello everyone, my name is Annelies Bonen. I'm a hematologist. I work in the Netherlands and I like to come to Omrock.
Hi, Essie Morgan. I'm a peds dermatologist from Seattle, and I don't know, movies, trip.
My name is Todd Bergen. I'm a physiotherapist. I'm from Denmark and I like to swim.
Hi, I'm Ingrid de Groot from the Netherlands. I'm a patient research partner and I'm a member of a cooking club in our street with 3 other couples.
Hi everybody, I'm Mary Cowan and I'm a PRP from the UK, and for fun I go to heavy metal concerts.
I'm Kathy Hofstetter. I'm a PRP from Toronto, Ontario. I'm the one who gave Lynn the whistle, so don't hate me. And for fun, I like to go and hear live music.
Hello, I'm Francis Guillemard from France. I'm clinical epidemiologist and I'm a mountain hiker.
My name is Sabrina. I'm a postdoc in biostatistics and I like to walk, as you have in common.
Okay. My name is Martin de Wit and I am a PRP, and I like eating fish with my grandson.
I'm Romy Haas. I'm a physiotherapist and I like to cycle, preferably up mountains.
I'm Sam. I'm from France. I'm a PRP, and usually when I want to have fun, I shut up. I shut up, which is a lot of fun to me because I never stop talking.
Hi everyone, Ben Horgan from Perth in Australia. I'm a PRP, and a great number of you already know that I have fun playing pool.
I'm Allison, PRP from Vancouver, Canada, and my happy place is baking in the kitchen.
Peter Tugwell from Ottawa. I'm trying to learn to play tennis with the wrong arm because something happened to the other one.
Hi, I'm Susan Verstappen from the UK. I'm an epidemiologist and I like to cycle.
I am Anna Manicha. I am industry, and for fun, I play the ukulele.
I'm Tim Pickles from the UK. I'm a Pain Working Group Fellow and I play Nebraska.
Hello, I'm Kast Webers. I'm a fellow in the Work Productivity Group, researcher in daily life, and I really like to go to the cinema and work in the garden.
I am Joachim Moseus. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm an expert at the European Medicines Agency. I play the trumpet in a jazz band, and I like yoga.
Hi everyone, my name is Carmen and louder. Is this better? Closer, okay. My name is Harmon and I'm a patient-reported outcomes expert from industry. And I like to hike for fun and just generally be outdoors. We don't get a lot of pressure with our desk jobs, do we?
Else? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm Marika from the Netherlands. I'm a PRP here, only in the adherence group. I'm a researcher because I'm conducting a PhD on adherence. And what I like to sing jazz and I like a lot of things. That's it. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Lara Maxwell, is that better? I'm based in Ottawa, Canada, and one of the methodologists here at OMERACT, and I like to garden. Well, I have to garden because I just moved home to a 3/4 of an acre property, so I have to. And we've got 2 people online. So we have Ina Campbell from who's a PRP from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and she likes to garden as well when it's not raining, because right now we're having a lot of flooding in that area. And then we have Maria Suarez Almazor, rheumatologist in Houston, Texas. And I haven't heard back about what her fun thing is, but I know she has horses and she rides horses. So there you go.
Great. So thank you so much for those online also. And I'm Karine Toupin-April. So I'm one of the co-chairs of the Shared Decision-Making Group. And we have so many people involved in our group. So I think we're about 80 people now in our group. So it's like the more, the merrier. So maybe I'll invite people who are part of this group, of the Shared Decision-Making Group. We're on calls and stuff. Maybe just stand up, just so we can see. So we place them strategically so that they're in different groups, so in different tables. Great. Okay. So thank you so much. Yes. So we have also a sign up sheet. So please sign it, not sign it, but write your name and email, enroll. Good. Okay. Great. So we also have Simon Descaries, who is the fellow of this group, and he couldn't make it today, unfortunately, because of personal reasons. And we also have Florian Nay, who is also a PhD student working also with Simon, and they're involved a lot in the scoping review. Okay, so the overall goal today, the overall goal of our group, is to develop the core outcome set for trials of shared decision-making interventions. So when you have a shared decision-making intervention, for example, patient decision aid, decision coaching intervention, training in order to train healthcare providers to do shared decision-making. So these would be shared decision-making interventions. When you want to test them in a trial, what would be the outcomes that you would have to assess? So we really want to agree on the domains and then on the instruments that should be recommended to assess our 6 domains that we chose. So what are the goals of the SIG today? So gather feedback on one of the instruments to assess our domain. So we have one instrument. We'll show it to you. We print it out. So each table will have some copies. And we'll ask your opinion on this instrument, on the items. Are these a good domain match with some of our domains? Maybe we'll vote. I'm not sure if we'll vote. We see if we seem to have consensus. Then we may vote on the domain match and the feasibility of the instrument. And really the big goal is to discuss the results, to discuss, like, is it easy to do the domain match between this instrument and our domain? Or is it hard? And why is it hard? And then it's going to really help us to improve our process and to make sure that the next steps are going to be successful without any problems. So that's the main goal. We're supposed to do a survey next, but should we do a survey? How should it be done? So you're really going to help us today. And then I'm going to leave Martin to continue. So Martin, our PRP extraordinaire, Thank you so much, Martin. Do you want this?
Okay, thank you. There was this slide on acknowledgement of everybody who's involved, but I just want to say that this working group would not function at all if we didn't have Karine, because she is really the driving force of this whole enterprise, starting already in 2013. So I think really a round of applause for you for all the work that you over all the years. Okay, just for this, what we are going to do now, we will have a very short look at the process that we have gone through. If you think everything goes always smoothly within OMRAC, that isn't true. I will show you. We will show you the core domain set that we have. We have an agreed core set. We will have a little bit of information about the scoping review. And then this meeting, we will specifically focus on one instrument. So we will give you that instrument, and we would like you to assess that instrument for domain match and feasibility in relation of these 6 domains that we have. So that will be the small group activity with discussions. And of course, we will have a reporting back. Just looking back at our process, forming a working group, developing a core domain set, and now we are at the stage of developing a core instrument set. Very simple, that's how we work. Forming a working group, this is a picture from Budapest. We started in 2013 to develop and establish our group. Patient partners are involved, clinicians, researchers. We started with 30, and now our working group has 80 members. So what have we done so far? Well, just avant la lettre, we started with a literature review, and we published that. We did find a long list of domains. And then, of course, we put them in a Delphi. That was in 2000, or starting towards 2015. In 2016, we brought them to the OMRAC conference for endorsement. And what did you think that happened? It wasn't endorsed. So that means that we were commissioned to do additional work. And what was the problem? We are not developing a core set for a disease, a rheumatic condition. This is for a very specific type of interventions. So there were difficulties distinguishing between process factors and outcomes. So actually what we had to do is being more precise and developing outcomes that are not process outcomes, but that are really outcomes. That's what we did. We wrote a white paper. We talked to a lot of stakeholders and then published that. And then we didn't develop more information about the domains. We had at that time outcome domains, and we proposed them. But what was important, we find it important that we have to very carefully explain. So we made a video. We had surveys and discussions, and we did also stakeholder interviews. And then at 2018 meeting, all the domains were accepted. We had endorsement with all domains more than 90% support. So we were very happy with that. Then we started looking at instruments. But at that time, OMRAC had, of course, also developed this domain specification format. So for each of the 6 domains, we have developed these descriptions, and you will see them later on. We did publish all our efforts. Now we are here. So we have now done a scoping review of instruments. We will take one of these that we think is a promising instrument, and Karine will introduce that one. And after this one, with your help, we will look at the way that we will in the future assess and review other kinds of instruments, because there are challenges. And we just, with the exercise that we are going to do, we hope that we get some learnings, how we can do that assessment of domain match and feasibility, how we can do that efficiently and in a way that is acceptable to all of us. So that's where we are now. And I hand over to you, Karin.
You did all the hard work, all the hard part. Thank you so much, Martin. It shows the involvement. He's able to explain it much better than me. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, so here is the core domain set. So we have knowledge of options, alignment of the chosen option with the patient's, the person's values, certainty in the chosen option, satisfaction with the decision-making process, adherence to the chosen option, and potential negative consequences of the shared decision-making intervention. So these were the domains that were agreed upon by using consensus meetings. So these are the 6 domains. And so we will give you sheets explaining each of these domains, because each of these, it's not good enough that we had just like a single one line about them. We really described them. And we looked at, do these domains include kind of subsections, right? And so that's what we also did. So this is an example of the sheets that you'll get. So this is the first one. This is the knowledge of option. So you have the core area, which is life impact, the broad domain, knowledge of option, the target domain, knowledge of options, their potential benefits and harms. And when we talk about options, it's healthcare options. So for example, are you choosing between biologics? Are you choosing between different ways to manage pain? Then you have a working definition of the target domain. So we will invite you to read it in small group, like the definition of your domains. We also have the domain components. So these are there different aspects, different elements to this domain? And so this is an example for knowledge of options, but we'll give you, so each table will have 2 domains that you'll focus on, because we don't want to overwhelm you with like the 6 domains. So 2 domains that you'll focus on. And so this is just an example of the sheets that you'll get. So these are all the domains. So some have a bit more components than others. Good. And if you have any comments on the domains, I mean, these domains have been, really endorsed, and the definitions and description of these domains have also been endorsed with more than 90% endorsement in a survey that we did with about 50 people, including patient partners, clinicians, and researchers. So we're hoping not to change anything, but I think if you have any questions, we will have people from the working group on each of the table so they can help you. So we had the domains, then we explained the domains, we really tried to define them. And then the next step is the scoping review of instruments. So how can we find instruments to assess these 6 domains? So here what we did is we included studies done with individuals living with rheumatic and musculoskeletal conditions. And we included all instruments, validated or not, used in shared decision-making studies to assess any of the 6 domains. It included studies in any clinical or research context. And we included primary studies, so meaning a randomized control trial, a validation study, any study. And the language of publication was all languages. We did the scoping review according to the Joanna Briggs Institute Manual for Evidence Synthesis. We had a protocol that everybody in the working group approved, gave feedback on, and we registered it with Open Science Framework. So always good to register a scoping review. We did the search on March 3rd. And so Simon led the search, Simon Descaries with Florian Ney, and with a team at Université Laval in Quebec City. So there were 6 reviewers that were trained. There was a calibration exercise to make sure that everybody was including the same studies. And they were hand searching as well of the references of the articles and also looking at literature reviews. So if there's a systematic review, then we included that as well, and we search for instruments. So our goal was to find all the instruments that could assess these domains. So we identified in the search about 14,000 records, or I mean, these are kind of abstracts or articles. We found 6 from additional sources. When we removed duplicates, so if 2 times the same study came back, it amounted to about 9,000 records. We assessed 238 articles. We looked at the full text, and in the end, we included 101 studies, which included any instruments related to shared decision making. So we haven't finished the scoping review yet, but we have a pilot sample of 18 studies. And so what we did is we did a preliminary analysis of these 18 studies. In these 18 studies, so these are all the domains from 1 to 6, and below are some of the examples of some tools, some instruments that we think it may assess this domain. Now, we didn't do a great job of doing that. We didn't do like a perfect domain match, right? And so it was just kind of like, okay, we think this may be matching our domain. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to take one of the instruments, which is the decisional conflict scale, or DCS, which is in yellow. So the DCS, we thought maybe it assesses maybe 4 domains, but we're actually not perfectly sure. So I think this is not an exact science. So you guys will help us. That's your job today. So this is the decisional conflict scale. So you will read it when you're in small group. It has 16 items. This is the traditional version, but there's also other versions. And so you'll see that will give you a page that has 3 different versions. The column to the left is the traditional one. That's the one we'll ask you to look at. The traditional one is the most tested one. So it's been really tested in a lot of studies, but there's these other 2. So there's one, for example, that's a low literacy, but it hasn't been tested as much. So we'll focus on the column to the left. We also, so we're including the tool itself, and we have the user manual, sort of how to score it. So we thought if you're interested in knowing how it's scored. So that's it. So this is the document. To the left is going to be the traditional one. So that's the one we'll be asking you to look at. So the small group activity. So we'll take about 25 minutes. So we would like to ensure that each table has patient partners, researchers, clinicians. We will assign you 2 domains. And so you will focus on these. You will be asked to review the tool, the instrument, and determine if some of these items match your 2 domains that you'll be given. So if you're given the domain knowledge of option, you'll read the domain knowledge of option. What is it? What does it include? And you look at the DCS and you look at, are there any of these items, or is the whole instrument assessing knowledge? Okay. And you can have discussions. Maybe you won't agree, but maybe that's going to be interesting in itself if you don't agree. I think there may be disagreement. And then I put right findings. I think we'll have a reporter in each small group. So then we can discuss it. We will do a small group report of about 25 minutes where every group reports their finding. And then we're trying to see, what do we learn from this, right? What are the potential limitations? What should we do better? What would be the next step, in the survey? Can we actually send all of this information in a survey and we ask people to vote? So that's it. So we'll ask you to be in small groups. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tables. So we can keep the 4 tables, maybe verify that there's patient partners in each, and maybe we'll verify that there's a member of our working group in each. Is that okay? So we'll start now. We'll give you all the papers. And so the first thing is you review your domain. You can start with reviewing 1 domain at a time or the 2 domains. Then you'll review the decisional conflict scale. You'll look at the items, and then you'll try to see, is there a clear match? So what you could do is on the DCS, you could say, oh, I think item 1, 2, and 3 assess domain one or part of domain one knowledge. And if you have a certainty in the chosen option, we don't think anything, we don't think it is assessed at all. So then you'll say, we don't think, right? It's assessed. The other thing is that this sheet shows different subscales of the tool. So the decisional conflict scale can be divided into a few subscales. So you just have that information so it can help you to decide on, do you think that knowledge is assessed by 4 of the items or 1 of the items? Okay. So are there any questions? Yes, we will assign the domains to the table. So we will do that. Do we just go, Martin? Do you do it?
Yeah, I will do it in a minute. First, are there any questions for clarification? Everything clear? Yeah? Is the assignment clear? Okay. This table is missing a patient research partner. Isn't that a sad thing? What? Yeah, they missed a PRP. So I invite maybe 1 or 2 PRPs to join this table. This table will review domain, start with 1, and if you have time, you go to 4. 1 and 4. You will assess domain 2 at 2, domain 2. And if you have time left, you will do 5. Yeah. You will assess domain 3. And if you have time left, you go to 6. And you will assess domain 1 also and 4. Okay. Okay, good. Right. 1 and 4. Yeah. 3 and 6. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Okay, so everyone, so are you done? Because our timing says that you should be done. So if you haven't done every item, everything, it doesn't matter. I guess the goal is, what were the challenges? What are the things that came up? Okay? So, okay, so we'll come back. And I know it's a hard exercise, and I know we're like in the late afternoon, and someone said we should have had tequila. Sorry about that. Next time. I'm not sure Omrak will vouch for that. So we will start the report. So we will start maybe with the group that has maybe, who wants to start? Who wants to start? Okay, you want to start? Okay, and you guys have domain 1 and then 4. Oh, 4 and then 1. Okay, so domain 4. Oh, I'll show it on the screen, domain 4, right? Okay.
This is clearly way too late in the afternoon after a fun outing to be talking about something so complex. And I'm part of the working group. So that's, I should be shot. So we only did number 4 and we just barely got through that because we argued and fussed over it and went backwards and forwards and we all changed our minds 15 times. Yes. So our final conclusion to this is that it doesn't fit overall as it speaks to the outcome rather than the process. Possibly number 7, 8, 9, and 13 would be a match. And that's as far as we got. Outcome rather than the process itself. And the domain is about the process. Yes. Okay. Number 7 is I have enough support from others to make a choice. Number 8 is I'm choosing without pressure from others. Number 9 is I have enough advice to make a choice. And 13 we're kind of iffy about. I feel I've made an informed choice. So, end of the process. Yes. It is hard. They would say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't figure it out. It's just too complex. Because when we started at first, we seemed to all be on board, except Francis, who convinced us to look at it from his perspective, and then it turned everything upside down on its head. And we looked at it again, and so everything we thought was a match wasn't a match, and everything we didn't think was a match was a match. So, it's been a mess. Aren't you glad you invited us?
And also what we came up, Karin, was the working definition of the target domain, because it encompasses 2 things. And that made it a little bit confusing. It's like the way it was made, the decision, and about the level of engagement. So there are 2 components, and most of the things could fit into one component, but not in the other. So what group do you want me to go to? Okay, this table, who wants to report back? Not too enthusiastic, please.
Yeah, so I'll report. I'm not sure I'll speak on everyone's behalf. We were talking about domain number 2. It was about if the chosen option aligns with the yeah, that one. Yeah, we looked at like the components at the bottom indeed, and we first had some. First, we looked whether component A was there. Yeah, and this asked about it. We had a bit of discussion whether if they say I prefer this, because they say which one do you prefer, but that was also the one that is eventually chosen. But that might be a bit more semantics. So, and maybe in this context, you can assume that usually what they prefer is also chosen in the context of an SDM intervention setting, a trial setting, but just a small remark. B was missing, at least it's not like asked like what are the patients or participants' values, but we felt that items 4 to 6 in some way at least indicate whether the patients, whether it's clear to them what they value, what is important to them. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, exactly. So then the question is whether you need the actual values to assess the concordance between the two. Looking at the concordance, yeah, we had item 14, which we think kind of, it says like, my decision shows what is important to me. And that one might sort of indicate that indeed the decision aligns with the values. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But we do, at least I felt that for 14 it was a bit vague. I'm not sure if also the participant connects, like with that item connects with the items he or she answered earlier. So if really all those features you mentioned at the bottom, if he or she really reflects while answering on item 14. And oh, yeah, and okay, 14, yeah. 14 is my decision shows what is important to me. Yeah. Well, of course, if someone wants to add.
I'm sorry to do this, but I don't necessarily agree. I see item 1 to 13. It seems as if the person actually haven't made a decision. They are saying what they, for example, item 1, I know which options are available to me. Yes, I was saying number 1 to 13 doesn't seem like the person actually made a decision. It sort of anticipate that the person would make a decision. Like, I know which options are available to me. I know the benefits of each option. Number 4, I am clear about which benefits matter most to me. Number 5, I am clear about which risk and side effects matter most to me, but they still haven't made an option. The only one I see that they actually made an option is number 14, where they say my decision shows what is important to me. And I think that's the only one in my perspective that aligns to domain 2. Yeah.
Just another point of view from this table as well. We had little side conversations. We didn't really have a table conversation, but that's all right. You're getting all the information now. So as this is about shared decision making, I'm thinking about those patients that are sitting with their doctor who's telling them what to do, and they're going, yes, doctor, sir, I'll do whatever you want. I don't think this gets that out at all, to be honest with you. Because I think that those patients will answer this on behalf of their doctor, who they love, and they don't want to upset, and they will answer this in the way that makes it feel like they're doing what they should do. And it's important to me because this is what my doctor told me to do. Yeah. Yeah. If they were guided. Yeah, not necessarily. It depends on the individual, really. There's some people who would rather die than upset their doctor. They still exist. Yeah, but no, I don't think so. Honestly, there's yeah. So sorry, what does that mean? Explain that to me like I'm stupid. What does decisional conflict mean? Yeah. Yeah. After they've done this. Yeah, okay.
There's one comment left here. Is that okay? Short comment. Short comment.
Okay, short. Two things I found conflicting still into item 6. Like, I'm clear about which is more important to me, the benefits or the risks. It feels like benefits are good enough so I can bear the side effects, and also side effects are bad enough so I can give up the benefits. I think it puts the patient in a corner. So maybe the what is more important? The wording of important, the problem is that usually important is a positive thing. So for the benefit, it's important for me to have the benefit. So it's important for me to have the side effect or not to have a side effect. So maybe the interpretation of this item may be, yeah, this score may not be so accurate. And also 12, the decision is easy for me to make. I would say not necessarily it's easy for the patient to decide. Yeah.
I go to the next table, okay? In case of time.
The control preference. So what I was thinking is maybe, this scale results could be influenced by someone's preference. No, I was saying that this could be a contextual factor, the control preference, which is, what is the role that the patient wants to have when doing the decision. If they want the doctor to have the whole decision, or they want to chair that decision. So, this could change the results of.
So what you're saying is that some patients may be very happy with the decision-making process if they didn't want to participate in the decision-making process and had the decision made for them. So that capturing that level of desired or preferred level of engagement. Yeah.
Another thing that we discussed on the table was the setting in which the tool would be used. So for example, in a clinical setting, the tool may be accompanied with some sort of a dialogue, but whereas in a trial setting, the PRO is completed by the patient without anybody else interfering in that assessment so as to not bias it. So typically, in a trial, patients may complete, before talking to anybody, they'll complete their PRO first and then proceed to see the site staff and the clinicians, et cetera, so as to not bias. So I think that nuance is important to keep in mind as well, whereas clinical practice versus a randomized control trial, the presence of the conversation while filling out the tool versus not is a key aspect. Then the whole point about does the patient want to upset their clinician or not can also play in. Are they filling it out on their own where they know no one's going to see this? Or are they filling it out together where their responses may be biased because they don't want to upset anybody?
It's designated. Oh, they won't have difficulty hearing me. I'm a loudy. Okay. Okay, so first of all, we were wondering where was the wine when we were going to start this, because it was quite a brain teaser. So we did have a domain number 3, and I think where we struggled the most in retrospect is that we had knowledge of what all of the other domains were. So, while we could recognize where these might fall, we were really doing our best to stretch our brains to make these fit into our domain. Okay, so that was one of the issues. The other issue was the wordsmithing and the tense. So it was like, I am choosing without pressure, but if you're in like a different domain and it's later in the process, does this make sense? So we found ourselves changing the tense of the statement and even really reaching. So I have an example of that. And one of them, for example, which was number 12, this decision is easy to make for me. And the domain being certainty in the chosen option. We said, we went back and forth and back and forth. And we said, okay, let's put it this way. This decision is easy for me to make once I had all of the information that was educated and I felt certain that I had XYZ and therefore it was easy. So we were like literally finding ourselves filling in the blanks to make it make sense. Okay, so that was where we struggled, I think, the most. And so we really felt like we were at this place of wordsmithing. As far as what we did one and then they did one and then we compared. And we really only came up with a big asterisk next to number 10, which is I am clear about the best choice for me. And then we were kind of iffy on 11, which is I feel sure about what choice to make. 12, this decision is easy for me to make, which I just gave the example. 13, I feel I have made an informed choice. 14, my decision shows what is important to me. We have a big question mark by that because we were kind of 50-50. And then 16, I am satisfied with my decision, which went back to the same example of easy. So it was only if all of these things happened, then I would, but it was sort of like we can't determine what the situation was, the experience based on these words.
So all of these words.
And 16, correct? For number 3, it was 10, 11, 12,
10, 11 as well, Martin.
13, 14, and 16.
Yeah, 10 to 14 and 16.
And they all seem kind of similar, but kind of different. Do people have comments on this?
This is correct. This is correct.
The good batch 10, 11.
We made it.
Okay, good. Okay, and okay, so maybe we'll go to them and then you have the other domain you did as well. Okay, so you had domain 1, knowledge.
Yeah, I was voted. So there was several items that we thought that would fulfill the second part of this domain, not the first one, which is feeling of being informed. And that was 1, 2, 3, 9, and 12. And I don't know if you guys had an extra one. 13. 1, 2, 3, 9, and 13. But we had a great debate about if it actually measures knowledge, the actual knowledge of participants. So we think that for that, a different instrument is needed.
My understanding is basically we said it matched the second part of the description, the B part, not the A part.
Being informed and not the knowledge, the pure like objective knowledge. So the feeling of being informed. And these were, can you just, so which one did you feel that all of them were assessing that? Or the ones you said? Yeah, okay. And non-assessed knowledge that was objective, the first component, okay. Okay, that's good. And did you have any other things on that domain?
Comment about, there was a comment about the clinical setting versus the clinical trial, which may be difficult to measure the actual knowledge or objective knowledge in a clinical trial.
So you did another domain. Did you do your other domain as well, or it was already discussed? And you did it 4 as well, right? Okay, and you agreed with what they said about 4? Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, that's okay. That's okay.
There was one thing about number 4, because actually question A, it's asking what did you choose? So the chosen option is in the questionnaire. A.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have a number.
Yeah. So the chosen option was it then domain 4? But you said that, right? Yeah. Yeah. And it said, which option do you prefer, right? So we weren't sure if it was chosen is the same as preferred. Okay, good. Okay, great. Then you had another domain 6. And did we miss other domains as well? 5? Okay. 5 first. Let's go 5 first and then. Somebody who wants to report?
Are you in agreement? Okay, that's the question.
I think you're probably gonna have to ask. I think you're gonna have to ask a number of us because we didn't get the time to talk much on it. But that's one of the biggest challenge I found as well is the difference between preference, is that what it is, and chosen, because it seems that the questionnaire sort of the person hasn't really chosen yet. It's anticipating what they'll choose. So even with domain 5, it says adherence to chosen option, whereas many of the questions it's around thinking about the decision you're going to be making, and that you have a sort of an idea of which option you're going to choose, whereas the core domain is already assuming that you've made the choice, so adherence to the chosen option, whereas the scale, I don't think is made definitely. Most of the items assume that you haven't made the decision yet. And so that's a conflicting thing in my mind. However, the ones at the bottom, number 14, it says that you've chosen already because it says my decision shows what is important to me. So that one is one that you've chosen. So when it comes to adherence, I think there isn't, again, I see anticipation to adhere, but not necessarily items that would measure adherence. For example, I expect to stick with my decision. So that is anticipating that I will adhere, but not necessarily that
that they're adhering.
That they're adhering, yes. And possibly very close, number 16 as well. I am satisfied with my decision, could possibly be linked to the anticipation to adherence. So I would say number 15 and 16 could touch on it, but would be in the sort of contemplation stage and not the actual doing of it.
It's interesting because I think at some point we mentioned that could be part of adherence, right? I don't know if the group remember that we had, at some point we had expectation to follow. So it was what, remember we had that at some point and then we deleted it, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Now we have the last group. So you guys, you did 6. Okay, so what did you find for 6? Potential negative consequences of the shared decision-making intervention.
Thank you. Cheers. So I guess basically one of the issues of this one when it comes to the questionnaire is that it's obviously negative impact, negative consequences of an intervention. And all the sentences here are written in a positive manner, right? So the only way you would assess that would be if someone strongly disagree with one of these, but even when we looked through them and we considered someone answering strongly disagree, it didn't make sense. There was actually only one that we all kind of agreed on, which was number 8. So the item 8 is I am choosing without pressure from others, right? And in the domain, there is something mentioning perceived emotional distress, which could be, you know, it's a stretch, but could be associated, we worked really hard, could be associated with.
When we report, it's a stretch.
So yeah, so consider that someone could feel pressured was an emotional distress. And if they strongly disagree with the fact that they didn't get any pressure, then, you know, does that make, yeah, it's measurable in that way, but I would be negative. Yes.
So very complex, not matching. Really, you tried hard to make it match. Yeah, that's a good try. Nice try. That's really good. There was another comment, and then I think we'll go to kind of the conclusion and just kind of maybe a recap of, you know, what do you think we should do next? Go ahead.
Sorry. One thing that it feels, just complementing what Cleo said, this instrument, it seems, depending on when you are applying the questionnaire, before the decision being made or after, you may get some missing values because, for example, a participant who didn't decide yet, I am satisfied with my decision, he will leave it in blank. So it's an important factor to how to evaluate the scores of this instrument if you applied before decision or after.
And even people could use the patient decision aid and then not choose something. So then how do they answer this? Does it even? Yeah, yeah. I thought you were talking the timing for the workshop.
That's also true. That's also true.
That's also true.
So I think it's an evaluation instrument that you fill in after having undergone the intervention. But I think there were some remarks also from your group about the tense of the statement. But it assumes that the intervention has been performed. Yeah, or the decision has been made. But it should be clear from the timing.
So maybe we can ask you, we have like 5 minutes left, right? Not even. So I don't know if you have any suggestions for the next step. Like, do you foresee, like now we have to do a survey. I mean, we'll try to assess all the domain match as you did today, but do you have some kind of suggestion for the future? Some kind of, issues that we need to address for the future? Do you think it's problematic to pick some items, not others? Should we, we take some items and maybe we need to do a new instrument, right? Because so maybe give your suggestions and we'll go. Is that okay? So.
Just one thing I really like what Ben suggested, just to add, it's not in here, but just to add something to know better how the decision was made, like the why, like what was the reason for the participant to choose this option in the end.
Why a decision was chosen? Why, like adding more the why in a tool?
For example, which factors they considered, benefits, harms, physician's opinion, anything. Like they can indicate or something like multiple choice, but just so you know, it's kind of an extra check perhaps for them also to indicate what they considered when making a decision.
Okay, good.
Sometimes not if you don't choose a decision aid, but if you choose a decision aid, then you have to weigh or you can have an option that you weigh the benefits and the pros and the cons, so that. And a good decision aid that should be there.
I'm not sure it will really help for next step, but I think it's important to note that some of the items in this particular scale are covering different domains. So it's possible to have scoring using the same item for different domains, but it makes it a little bit complicated. And if you, for the future, if you plan to have an aggregation of different items from different instruments, it will be even more complicated for formulating. So I would say it will be a big challenge to finalize something from the existing thing, especially also because the response scales are not harmonized as well.
So the best is to find an instrument that would address all of this perfectly. And then if we can't, then it's going to be mix and match of different items, but we have to redo the validity and everything, right? It's much more complex, right? That's what I'm hearing. Okay, good.
I'm a PRP, so as a patient, I think deciding on a why you make a decision, it seems to me a terribly difficult problem for a patient, sorry, not for a PRP, for a patient, and also it seems very intrusive. Who cares why I made a decision? And on top I don't see very much of the interest of knowing the whys. What are they going to bring to any aspect of the inquiry? Have I made myself clear?
Okay, yes. But I guess if we want to test whether some interventions can help people make better decisions, right? Decisions that they feel are really the best decision, like that they find that they choose the medication, for example, that matches more with what they really value. So you don't want, right? So I guess it's important to assess these things if you're going to test an intervention. Do you agree with that? Yes.
It just presupposes that the patient is in a position to decide what was the weight of each of the possible factors in his decision, which doesn't seem obvious to me.
Mm-hmm. But I think that one of the things is that patient decision aids helps to do that. Patient decision aid will help kind of, this is all the information on the different drugs. What do you value most? What do you prefer? So it should help you to find the best solution for you, I guess. So I guess to test if that works, maybe that doesn't work, right? So I'm not sure if I don't know if anybody else have other comments on this.
Okay, maybe if you understand the why, you may be more satisfied later on with the decision, either if you go for the treatment or not go for the treatment. So it's important to have a clarity of why you are deciding, whatever option.
Sorry, I just thought we were thinking in terms of clinical trial. And in this perspective, I agree with you in terms of clinical intervention and treating intervention, but in terms of clinical trial, I can't see the point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's good feedback.
No, it's just.
Okay, do you have any other comments or any suggestion, any other things to finish?
Yeah, I think the decision conflict scale as it was today is a great scale. One of the things, as Andre pointed out, I think it's when it's used and so on. So the tense, I think, is not the best to use when you're talking about when someone has already made a decision. I could see it being used before a decision is made, before and after a shared decision-making intervention is given, but before the actual decision is made, except for the last 3 items. So I think the tense is important when, if you're saying chosen, yeah.
Easy for me to make, not decision is easy to make. If it was all in the past, it would be clear that the decision was made before. So
that's interesting. I think we'll bring that as a comment too, and we'll talk to the people who developed the DCS to see why did you put it with that tense. That's a good comment. Yeah, I mean, this is the version that is supposed to be used, so I don't know if they changed the tense or something. Okay, great. Yeah. So thank you so much. I don't know, Martin, do you want to add something or anybody from the working group? But thank you so much.